Welcome, everybody, to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role playing podcast hosted by people who say, fuck it, we ball. My name is Juan Santana, and with me this evening we have the Crit Award nominee himself, our very good friend GM Justin.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I am GM Justin. You can find me at all my socials at Forever GM Justin. You can also find me over at Roll D5, where we specialize in playing any TTRPGs. And yeah, this is my second crit nomination, so fingers crossed I'm able to pull the gold
Fing-
home this year.
Fingers crossed, man. As for us, if you like what we do and you like what you hear here tonight, just come and follow us on all our social medias. Like, subscribe. We've even got a Ko-fi channel that you can come in and you can donate $3 a month, and that'll give you exclusive access to our Travelers Chalice chat, which will give you insight and the voice in the direction in which this show kind of goes for the future. So it's definitely worth checking out, and it's $3 a month, and it is for a I would say it's for a good cause. It's for our cause, but it is for if it's something that you enjoy and you want to see more of, it helps us out massively. Other than that, the only last thing of housekeeping I need to do is that this year I'm going to be taking part in the Shine Night Walk for Cancer Research UK. I do have a giving page that I will be posting on social media religiously until the night of the walk. My aim is to earn £500 for this wonderful cause. So if there's anything you can donate, it'll be much appreciated. So let's get into the show. I think
Let's do
first
this.
I think first of all, we kind of have to acknowledge the fact that Atlas wasn't able to make it here tonight. She is absolutely gutted because she was so excited to meet you. But her day today is absolutely full. But she sends all her love, and we send our love to Atlas. Justin, how have you been, man?
Busy, and more busy. So it feels like it never stops.
Well, I know you're a very, very busy person, and I just want to say thank you for cutting out some time just to kind of come and hang out with me today, because it's been a minute since you and I actually chatted, other than
Yeah,
the
no,
random.
thank you. Thank you for reaching out and asking. I'm glad that what is it, time like scheduling worked out, and we were able
Yeah,
to hang out because yeah, it's been almost a year now since we
pretty
recorded that.
much. It was around this time that we got together and we did the Call of Cthulhu one shot for the crit list on the channel, which we're gonna get into. We're gonna talk about that because I I don't talk about that fantastic game enough because I think it
It
was
was a
fucking
great
fun.
time.
It was an amazing time. It was one of the most chaotic tables that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
And it was glorious. But we will get into that. But first and foremost, what we like to do here on the show is start out by saying, how's your gaming week been? What have you been up to?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, I'll kind of work myself backwards. So this past Friday, we played. I played in Whitney Smoking Glue Guns channel, the Veils of Atheum AP that we're working on. I just introduced my latest character because now I'm on character 3 in a campaign that has been running for less than a year now, and it is hilarious. It's now we have if you what is it if the audience wants to join up onto their Patreon, join us into our Discord, we actually have bingo cards that um, you can get generated for you to play along as we go through the session, because there are some specific things that we all have and that we do pretty regularly on the channel, and it's now become a point. It's just like, hey, I, one of the blocks is Justin's new character, and there's another one that says when a PC dies. I think it should probably just say when Justin's PC dies, but that's just me. And yeah, no, it's a good time. Like I said, we do a lot of crazy stuff, and it's so consistent that we make a bingo card, and like I think this last week I got 2 bingos off the shenanigans we got into.
So just to clarify, this is a live AP as opposed to a
Yes,
pre-recorded. Oh,
that is correct.
never had the pleasure of doing that. I'm definitely interested in. in trying one, but I don't know how well I'd fare, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I mean, the bingo cards thing sounds fucking phenomenal.
It is, and I've also made the connection, at least in my head canon, that all of my characters, whether I subconsciously or yeah, but mostly it's probably subconsciously, have made them into kind of Doctor Who characters. So, or at least I attribute them to the Doctor Who companions. So my first one, Alejandro, was like the Rose Tyler for the group. Then
Okay.
my last character was Martha Jones uh, for my Naruto, and now I'm hopefully making my character is now going to hopefully fit the more Donna Noble role. So
Hmm.
I've gone through 9 and 10. So once I get that one and I move on to the next character, whenever that happens, I'll move over to either Amy Pond or Rory Williams, whichever one.
So is this like a particularly sort of lethal campaign that you're playing in, or are you just a risk taking sort of player?
So it's the combat encounters are that can be deadly.
Hmm.
Whitney, God bless, does not hold back, and if they do, they do an amazing job as to make it seem like everything is like the dice are telling the story.
Hmm.
And for my first character, his arc really just ran its course. We managed to find where his daughter was, and after being separated for so long, he's trying to do what he can to get to know her. And so for me, I can't justify in my head why this guy who's now found his daughter after so many years would continue camp going with the group. So he goes and bees and is with his daughter right now.
Yeah.
They're still doing adventuring stuff because occasionally Whitney will drop, you know, the little bit of lore here and there to kind of keep us up to date as to like what's
Hmm.
happening to him. But I, Justin, have no idea what that is. So yeah, I'm just as like, if you look at my reactions whenever Alejandro is brought up, like those are legit. I learned
That's
something new.
amazing.
Cool.
No, that is
Um,
fantastic. That's phenomenal. And
yeah.
where can people find that?
Every other Friday over at twitch.tv/smoking glue guns. You can also find Whitney, at cons throughout the year. Next week, she's going to be at VidCon selling her dice because last year she won Best Dice Maker, and then
Hmm.
this year she's going for Best Dungeon Master for the D&D category Crit Awards. So shout out to Whitney, you're the best. Keep it up. We love you. All the compliments to Whitney, no matter how much she cringes at it.
That's it. We like to make people cringe on this show. Just by all means, go for it. So
Yeah.
have you been doing any other gaming during the week?
Yeah, so what is it? This last week I did another recording for Somebody's Heroes and on Thursday, and then we had to cancel a game on Wednesday for my group, Rebels Without a Cause.
Hmm.
Or not a cause, Rebels Without a Castle. And so hopefully we'll come back next week and continue on because we all have a whole lot of spicy things going on with our characters. And then I had two of my home games. I run a Tal'Dorei Reborn home game with my group that's been playing together for the last almost 6 years now.
Hmm.
And Curse of Strahd group ran with the DM being the amazingly talented Jenna Daggers. So we've been playing that for a couple years as well. And yeah, that's pretty much been it for gaming here. I'm also in the process of moving, so if I sound a little echoey, that's why. Generally, like the
It's
room is like has a whole bunch of shit to it. There's lights and all that good jazz, but we're packing. We're hopefully looking to be in the new
yeah.
house next week.
Yeah, I mean that is on the cards for the in the future for me as my partner and I are looking to move in together. So as soon as we find somewhere, I'm gonna be in that exact same situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I don't know. I'll be recording out of a fucking tin can for the foreseeable until everything gets set up. It'll be done.
Yeah.
So as for me, on the Monday, we got back to playing GM Mistress's Winter Pathfinder Second Edition game. in her homebrew world. That is with Misfit Playland, who you remember
Oh
from our
yeah.
Call of Cthulhu game, her partner Clippy, and my best friend Chris. That is, if Call of Cthulhu was chaotic, this rivals it. This rivals
Oh
it
wow.
because out of the four characters, the only one that has any social know-how whatsoever is Chris's character. So he is now becoming a bit like a babysitter for us. And we're not making his life easy at all because Misfit is playing a sort of um a Leshy type character, but she is essentially a force of nature that has been created through anger. So she has no sort of connection or love towards humanoids or mortal beings, as it were. I'm playing an automaton that is a robot essentially. He does not know any sort of social practices whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Clippy has just brought in a character who's from a tribe. So again, unaware of any sort of social norms. So it is just absolute chaos and it is so fucking fun.
Love that.
And yeah, Mistress Winter manages to kind of keep it all together somehow, much like yourself in the Call of Cthulhu game, just a professional at what she does. And then in on the Wednesday, instead of playing our usual Fabula Ultima game, we played some more Savage Pathfinder, learning the rules, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Hell yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it
What is
you
it?
know
I know people brought up Fabula Ultima. I've not had the pleasure of playing that yet. It sounds like an interesting TTRPG to play. It's just one of those like I an opportunity has not presented itself yet. One of these days, I will jump into it. Either I'm going to run it myself, or maybe the stars align where I can. But
it
I
it
hear good things
it
about it.
it is a very good system. It is a very good system that does what it sets out to do.
Mhm,
And what that sets out to do is to replicate the feel of JRPGs.
mhm.
All right. So, in combat, you don't have any sort of um there's no sort of circumstance bonuses. There's nothing you can't go, I'm gonna run behind this tree. It is very much, rolling against rolling, but that is the way the system is designed. It is meant to be that way. As opposed to like Pathfinder, which I ran my last session of Pathfinder last week. And it that's what it became. So
Okay.
Fabula Ultima just gets rid of all the preamble of all it just basically you are facing these creatures, you roll, we roll, you roll, we roll, and then we see who wins. And it's a weird thing to make something so metagamey, but it kind of
Mhm.
works because that's what it is intended.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm. Very much an ability collecting system, a level better class based system, kind of like D&D and Pathfinder, but it encourages to mix and match the classes to kind of give you a lot more flexibility.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun game, and if you're into JRPGs like RGM is,
Mhm.
then that's all you need because it is he loves it.
Hell yeah. Love that.
Mm. So yeah, I'm because I've kind of taken a step away from GMing Pathfinder, and by step away I mean never fucking doing it again. I'm now getting into Savage Pathfinder as an entry into Savage Worlds, and I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's a fantastic slept on system that more people need to kind of get on board with.
Yeah, I could see that. I played Deadlands.
Mm,
I played Deadlands a long time ago. It's like a one shot for my group. Given the fact that at that time I'd only ever ran D&D,
mm,
it was a different take on how to run and how and the use of the mechanics of it was something that I wasn't prepared to try and understand, and it took me a little bit to gather. But I'm like, look, I'm trying to tell a story here. We're gonna have a good time. And we're also celebrating our maybe our second or third year anniversary as playing
Hmm.
together as a group. So you know what? Rules be damned. We'll figure it out. Fuck it, baby. We ball, and it was a good time. And that's where I'm like, I really enjoy telling more story based
Hmm.
games more than I do combat focused.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at. Because I've made the comment multiple times that you don't need a GM for Pathfinder. And I still
Yeah,
maintain that. Just kind of boiling down to the base of it, where you could quite feasibly go, okay, so this creature's AC and DCs are this. Just roll the dice. And it doesn't have an impact on the story. And as much options, because that's something that Pathfinder kind of sells itself on. You can create any character you want. We've got all these multiple options. It's all well and good, but when you get into combat, you are still very limited with what you see on your sheet.
yeah,
Whereas other sisters, Savage Worlds being one of them, it's everything is a circumstance.
for sure.
Hmm. So yeah, I'm getting really into that system, as well as playing Delta Green as always, and Blades in the Dark as and when I can.
I do love me some Delta Green.
Delta Green is phenomenal. We have a game. We have a game that hasn't quite materialized yet. Bringing back the bringing back the Call of Cthulhu gang. It's going to
Hell
be
yeah.
Impossible
Uh,
Landscapes, which I'm already currently in a run through of, and I can't wait to do it again.
Hell yeah.
Hmm.
I love that. One of the things I love about Delta Green too is that now we're in we're bringing in a little bit more of a structure. That's one of the things I like about it is because they bring in a little bit more of like the
Hmm.
structure. So now you know you are aware of what is going on,
Hmm.
and you are actively trying to combat it, and you may be part of some sort of government organization. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Some like for me, it took me just took me one like 2 games to like fully break like, all right, government job. I'm not beholden to these rules, so I can legitimately do what the fuck I want
Yeah,
and have the fun that I'm looking to have out of this game.
that's the thing my players still kind of struggle with is the white knighting. It's okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna point my gun at this person and tell them to stop. It's like, why? You're a Delta Green agent. He's a threat. He's an unnatural threat. Fucking do something about it.
It
And it it's hard to break people out of that pattern. Okay, so
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's also one of those things. What's that?
yeah, just kind of cutting out a tiny bit on, at least to me, it's on your end. I don't know what it's like on the
Yeah,
stream.
it's probably on my end for the what is it? Internet's kind of a little wonky now, so um,
Okay, so I'm gonna see what we can do. Okay, so we have temporarily lost Justin. He should be back in just a moment, I'm hoping, as he kind of reloads. So yeah, what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna start reading out our question of the week answers that Atlas put up. And I never normally read them out, so this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna go ahead and fucking try this. Okay, so I do not know a lot of these things because a lot of the answers are video game related, and I don't play enough fucking video games. But Atlas's question this week was, this Sunday is Father's Day. So I got to ask, what's the best family dynamic, or even better, a father figure that you have seen in a game? All right. So we are going to start with GM Judger Jones. I love that name. That is absolutely fantastic. And here we have Justin. He seems to be coming back. How you getting on, buddy?
Good. Or good to go. You can hear me now.
I can hit you now. What I might
Okay.
do is, I wonder if I can. Okay, I'm just going to pause your upload a second. Okay, so hopefully that will just improve the kind of stream aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what is it that I've been facing a little bit of connectivity issues as well. So, if I need.
Okay, he definitely seems to be having issues on Justin's side, but I'm going to carry on. I'm going to carry on. The show must go on, as they say. So GM Judge Jones says a character called the Visionary in a Mage campaign was an adversarial mentor to a PC from an unnatural path. His decisions led to the other PCs reawakening to other unnatural paths, which then fueled his ascension to Archmage. He then wove their paths into the tapestry, and the players became leaders in a new magical society. The game ended with the Viz sharing his pride in the PCs for standing up to his authority and creating his path to save them, how much they've grown, etc. That is a fantastic answer. I absolutely love about that. I never played Mage though. I have never played Mage, and I've always been interested in World of Darkness in general. I do actually have VTM, the latest edition. Never played it. So if anybody wants to invite me along to a VTM or werewolf or mage one shot, I'd be well up for that. All right. So moving on. We've got Darth Oldius. Our good friend Rob says Miguel's path to enlightened immortal got sidetracked when his daughter asked him to be her champion. It's a thing in Palladium. The gods tried to recruit enlightened mortals. She wasn't the first god. Cher wasn't the first goddess to make the try with Mig, but he turned that one down. So again, never played Palladium. Never. This is all news to me. Our good friend Constant Connell writes, I ran a Fading Suns game, where one of my oldest players was the father and the rest of the players were his adult children and adjacent. They bickered, they fought together, they had touching moments, they had times where it looked like the family would be torn apart. Yet at the end of the campaign, in the epilogue, almost all players cried at the father's passing. It was real, it was raw. Best game I ever ran. I love in a game where you can create such a moment of passion and emotion in, it's a constant reminder of why we do this and why we're in these fucking games. And okay, Delta Bravo Heart says, gonna say Noble 1 in Halo Reach, or maybe Buck in Halo 3 ODST, both with the way they looked after their subordinates. Carter's last words still stick with me today. I've got the mass. Never played either of those games, so unfortunately, I can't relate. But I'm glad you brought that to us. I'll probably give him a whirl one day. My kid's getting into Halo, so I will probably be playing at some point alongside him. I'm out to Slayer. Says I tend to celebrate my grandparents during Mothers and Fathers. So if I'm allowed to count that, I say it's going to be the grandfather from Stardew Valley, another game I've never played. He knew you were going to burn out working as a corporate drone and set you up for the second life he knew you'd need. If anyone plays Stardew Valley, please kind of write in to tell me what that fucking means, because I've got no clue. I know it exists as a game. It's never been something that really sort of landed on my periphery. And Diceaholics has posted a picture of someone from Baldur's Gate. Again, no idea. Video games. Video games are my fucking Achilles heel, man. I've got no idea about them, unfortunately. I used to be far more into them, but now it's just I don't have a clue. But basically, it's a picture of an elderly-looking elven gentleman or half elf, full beard. He's got like some sort of bling on his forehead, and I'm assuming as an in joke towards Baldur's Gate players, says, "My man did nothing wrong a day in his life." So again, write in and tell me what the fuck that means, because I'm not going to look it up. That is just flat out not going to happen. So we're just going to take a moment here because I'm going to find out how Justin is getting on, as it seems to be a minute since we last heard of him. But anyway, this will all be cut out during the podcast side of things, but let's see. But we're going to be posting the next question of the week up in a couple of days or so. So keep an eye out for that. Keep your questions coming in. And, keep your questions coming in. Sorry, keep answering those questions because we're going to keep reading them. And hopefully we can get Justin back because we got a lot to fucking talk about. So just checked up on Justin. So in the meantime, like we were saying earlier today, we do have a Discord in which you can kind of come along and meet other listeners of the show and talk about multiple things. We've got different categories for like health and fitness. We've got categories for movies where people can just come in and chat and just get to know other fans of the show. And for our $3 and above tier, we have our Traveler's Chalice, in which people can take part in decisions that mold the show going forward. Everything we've done in the show, everything we currently do, are things that we put out first in the Traveler's Chalice to see if they're a good fucking idea. And we put out a lot of things, and it's like a council where they can go, yeah, we like that idea, we don't like that idea. So if you want to actually have a sort of role in the direction that the show is going to take, then yeah, for $3 a month, you can actually take part in all of that. So Justin is currently refreshing. He does send his apologies, but we all know it's internet troubles. It happens. And, all this is going to get cut out of the final product. This is just the live issue. But if you're in the chat, just say hello and, we can kind of foot any questions from there. I have actually received questions from listeners, but I was hoping to kind of get Justin back on the show to help me answer them, because I think they're really good and really poignant questions that people have asked. And it's better to hear from more than one person than just me and my dumb fucking take on things sometimes. So I want to talk about Savage Worlds then. So yeah, the reason we played Savage Worlds was because our usual Fabula Ultima game didn't kind of pan out. So I've been getting into Savage Worlds. I've been reading up on Savage Worlds for some time. So the last cancellation for Fabula we had, we ran it, and it was quite a good session, but it was very much paused because we would be stopping and starting and looking at the rules and kind of taking that time to make sure we were getting things right. This time around, because we had that previous experience, it was a lot more fluid and things kind of moved along a lot quicker, and we saw the system for what it was. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan, and I can really get into it. We do have Justin back. Can he hear me?
I definitely can. Are you able to hear me this time?
Yeah, I can hear you this time. I can hear you. We don't have an image, but honestly, if you want to kind of leave it like that, that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I think that probably would be best right now. I apologize for the internet issues. Yeah.
No, it's quite all right, man. It is quite all right. All right. I have paused your upload, so now you're just going to be streaming. So that might work better. I don't know if you
Okay,
wanted to try.
sounds
I
good.
don't know if you wanted to try. You can, but if not, just keep it on audio, and we will we will kind of make do with what we've got. People are just going to see my lovely face.
Yeah, and I'll probably send you a photo to be able to slap on whenever you upload this over to YouTube. Like, it goes from me live image to cartoon version of me.
No, that's absolutely fine. It'll be fine. It'll all come out in the wash.
Yeah, exactly. It'll
All
buff.
right. All right. So basically I read out the responses we got to question of the week. So unfortunately you kind of missed that. But I will do is I will read out a couple of questions that we have been asked, and hopefully you can kind of offer some insight into
Yeah.
these questions. Okay, so our first question comes from Corey Painter over on Blue Sky. This is a general question, but Corey, I am going to answer you personally as well, because you have asked this for a particular reason. That's something that you're working on that you want to include us. But I thought I would put it out to you as well, Justin. Um,
Okay.
so he asks, what is one thing you look for in a game system?
Oh, that is a great question.
I know, right?
Um, I, I think so. I think it comes down to a couple things you have to ask is, um, who is the game system for exactly? Like, if I'm getting with a group of friends that generally like that I know like doing a whole lot of combat, then I'm looking for a game that has cool combat mechanics in there to be able to maintain their attention as well as give them the very thing that they want, right? So D&D is obviously the first one. It does not it's not the only one, obviously, that does combat. Obviously, like we mentioned before, with you playing Pathfinder, it offers a lot it offers a lot as far as combat is concerned. I understand that it's a very crunchy game, especially second edition, that I've skimmed through. But that it's going to come down to that question of like, what is your group looking for? Because
Hmm.
if you also have a group that is enjoying more of the storytelling aspect, there are a lot of games out there that fill that role too, and that also give you plenty of mechanics that add to stories. So I think that's the first question to ask,
Hmm.
and that's also looking at it as like a pro GM kind of a deal, right? Because and even as GMs within the AP space, it's what are we looking to do? What kind of performance are we looking to do? And if and not even and if we're looking at it from the, hey, I'm just getting my friends over there, like I mentioned, what do your friends like to do?
Hmm.
That's a great place to start, and then you kind of go into, all right, well, let's go Pathfinder second edition because they love doing crunchy numbers and they like throwing everything in there and rolling and scoring as high as they can. Or I have people that like telling stories with as little maybe as little dice rolling as possible, and at that point I'm looking at Rah to see what games they have, because a lot of their games are that they've written are more story based, story
Yeah.
focused. Don't
Hmm.
really need a whole lot of rolling dice.
Yeah. No, yeah, I appreciate that, and I do think you are right, because it all depends on the table. As for me personally, like the games that I enjoy the most, um, it's a weird one, and this is going to sound like a really vague answer because only because I struggle to put it into words. But for
Mm,
me, a system has to click. So
okay.
it doesn't stop with learning the rules or not learning the rules. So, for
Yeah.
example, I'm in a cipher system. Okay. I have
Mhm.
read the cipher system rule book from cover to cover. I have learned the rules of cipher, and for the most part, I could probably pick up cipher and run it today. However, it hasn't clicked. There is something
Yeah.
in there that I just can't quite get my head around. I don't know whether it's a logic thing. I don't know whether it is understanding a design philosophy. I can't
Mhm.
quite figure what it is specifically, but I know the rules to Cypher. I won't run Cypher because I've just got it doesn't click with me. Whereas we take Savage Worlds, the moment I started reading Savage Worlds, I went, "Oh fuck, I get it."
Yeah.
And that prompted me to learn more. And I'm still learning. I I cannot say I know the rules to Savage Worlds, and I probably won't ever know all the rules to that system, but I get it. I get the philosophy behind it. And that's why I linked up with Pathfinder so heavily is because I understood it. Another example is PBTA games. There's no
Yeah.
real
Yeah. Okay.
learning of the rules necessary. They're very straightforward. They are very simple, like very well defined sort of rules. I just can't bring myself to kind of go, "Oh yeah, I get that. I'm gonna enjoy playing that." I just for some reason I really struggle. So I think it I
No,
don't
that's understandable. I think that also goes back to the whole thing of like who your audience is, right?
hmm,
And I totally get that with Savage Lands. I read the roles. I know how it's supposed to be, but similarly, it doesn't click in my head. Like, am I doing? Is this like? I don't understand like you said the game philosophy for it.
hmm,
Now, you give me a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I could do that all day. You give me a one page TTRPG what is it like? I think it's there's one based off of Waffle House. Like I can play that. That's
hmm.
fine. That makes sense to me. But there's like you said, there's some games the philosophy behind it doesn't click for me. I
Yeah,
get that.
and it just gets to I don't know. It's really weird, and it's sometimes frustrating because Cypher, as an example, I invested a lot of money into that system because it was going to be my go-to. I was going to because
Yeah.
I needed for like a future project. I needed a versatile system. I needed something where I could kind of go, right, now we're Western, now we're prehistoric, now we're cyberpunk, now we're fantasy, and have the mechanics kind of follow the players around. Cypher is one of those systems that is its design. It's okay, this is meant to be a kitchen sink sort of toolkit. And so, I kickstarted a lot of things. I got bundles. The amount of Cypher properties that I've owned is ridiculous. But I've looked at it
Mhm.
and looked at it and looked at it, and the moment someone said Savage Worlds, I've gone, okay, so I'm now going to invest in this and just keep that in my
Yeah,
in my library for bragging rights.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, like I said, I totally get it because like I know mechanically this all makes sense. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I at least like I see where you're coming from with that because I've
Hmm.
experienced that myself. And
I,
I don't have I wish I had a workaround to it. It's just one of those like if a game clicks with you,
yeah,
fantastic. You're probably gonna find one that doesn't, and you just kind of okay, well,
that's
maybe
not for
one
me.
day.
It's it's not for me, and that's it really. But I mean, to actually give Corey something a bit more specific, and I'm trying to remember the point that I had in my mind a minute ago because it's annoying. Oh yeah. Um for me, I think the reason I've one of the reasons why I like Savage World so much is because it has the right amount of crunch for me. You know,
Okay.
I'm beyond the level of crunch that PF2E provides. And I think the level of crunch or the lack of no, I would say lack because that sounds dismissive, but the openness of a PBTA game, for example, that for me is a bit too loose. So I think Savage Worlds provides the right amount of crunch where there are rules for everything, but everything is optional. That everything is
Okay.
circumstantial
Fair.
and optional, where it's like, yeah, we've got rules for this, but if you don't want to use them, just crack on. And I know that in you can do that with every TTRPG system, but when I'm looking to purchase what the designer's intent is, not what I can do with it. If
Hmm.
that makes any sense. So Savage Worlds is designed in
No,
that
that
way where you
yeah.
can kind of go, yeah, you can pick and choose what you want to use, and the system supports that. So
Okay. No, yeah, I definitely get that. I wonder if it's also it probably also relates to like your philosophy as a game,
yeah,
what you
one.
look for
Mm,
in that game specifically. Like you said, you like having the structure. You don't necessarily use it all, but at
mm,
least if you need a back to it, it's there available for you. Versus maybe like me, where I can go with a system with next to no significant structure like you would with Pathfinder or D&D,
mm,
and I can run with that all day. So I guess that also probably takes into account too
mm.
in the games to purchase.
Yeah, and I don't. It's weird because I don't know whether it is a lack of sort of confidence where you see like a PBTA game. For me, it's like, is that too open? Is that too open? Do I need to have the backup of being able to kind of go, I'm just going to double check this rule? And this is just me
It
kind
never
of,
it never hurts to have it.
this is me. Yeah, this is me just kind of
Yeah, no,
going over this in my head at the moment.
yeah, no, and that's understandable. Like, what is it? Going back to my like old days where I solely played Dungeons and Dragons, I relied incredibly heavily on like pre-written modules, and I still
Mm,
do to this day. But I'm not as stringent in keeping up with everything that comes available with it, because now like well back then it was a good security blanket that if something were to go off the rails, which it did very often, but at least know like if I needed to resort back to something that the module had, I had it there. It's a security blanket for me.
mm, yeah.
Now I've gotten more comfortable with just being able to go off the cuff and just, hey, I'm over here doing this. You guys have gone clearly, left the module back like 5 miles ago, and so we're just going to continue on that space. But in the event that something pops up or I don't have anything else, well, I can still go back to this and throw whatever it is that we left behind into it and just continue on and see
Mm.
if we need it again or not.
Yeah, no, I think that is it. I think that is definitely something to consider, and definitely something I'm going to kind of look into going forward.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have another question. Um, da, 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 da. Where is it? There we go. I'm a professional, you see. All right, this
I
is
say
from
that
our
all the
good
time.
friend. This is from our good friend Constant Connell. And it is, what was the most problematic player encounter you've ever had, and how did you deal with it?
Ooh, ooh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Um, so ugh, problematic player wise. So I've always harp on
Mhm.
safety tools, right? And making sure that people are having a good time, are making sure like they are comfortable with everything that we have going on um with the story. So like there have been instances both in the private games and in public games where stuff pops up and it's like, you know, we have to have conversations to where like, this was a place where we probably shouldn't have gone, or hey, what this said but right here is something that we can't push forward because then we're crossing lines and veils and obvious and we're putting players safety in jeopardy. So they're not really a specific one, but it's just more of a generalized like there have been instances in the past, and it's
Mm.
one of those like we have the conversation, and it's on the player of like what they choose to do because you can easily just say, a player could easily just say, "Well, this is something that my character would do." It's like, okay, cool. Well, that's if we're not going to deal with a player with that kind of mindset. If
Mm.
you're completely going to like disregard everybody's boundaries, then you have no spot at a table for me.
Yeah.
And especially like especially if somebody says something that makes especially me as the GM uncomfortable. Nope, nope, we're not dealing with this. Bye,
No.
get out of here.
No, I 100% agree. I was kind of racking my brain with this one because I can't really remember a specific. I got one in the end, but it took me a while. And um, I whereas I've dealt with people professionally for most of my career, I'm very good at spotting red flags before they become red flags. So I will always kind of interject, and I'll always kind of establish a soft boundary to begin with.
Yeah.
And um if that doesn't work, then I am a very vocal person. I don't have any qualms in pulling somebody up, whether it's privately or whether it, if necessary, in front of the rest of the table, and just go, no, no, that's not how we do things.
Yeah,
You're welcome to walk away.
exactly.
I can find players. I've got no trouble with that. There was the incident that I can remember was it was in a Pathfinder game that I was running, and it wasn't so much a specific player as it was two, and it was a clash of personalities because both of these players, they're very retaliatory when it comes to being the butt of a joke.
Okay.
So if something happens and someone may prod a bit of fun at them, they retaliate. They can't stop. So they can't get to a point where it's kind of okay, this joke has kind of gone on long enough. They neither of, and the problem was one of them had a joke with the other, and it began this back and forth. And it began to escalate, and it got to a point, it's like, right, you two, fucking behave yourselves.
Yeah.
Pretty much in those words. And only because, again, not only knowing people, but also knowing these players and knowing how they react, I knew it was going to escalate to a point.
Hmm.
So it was a case of, right, you two fucking knock it off right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're moving on. It was fun until it wasn't. And let's just carry on with the game. And,
Yeah.
they took a bit of umbrage, but that's not my problem.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what is it for GMs who do stuff more privately? A lot of the times we're dealing with friends and
Hmm.
we're having to have like you have to have those conversations of what boundaries are, making sure like they have your friends have an understanding like, hey, just because you have fun and you are going down the route this particular route doesn't mean everybody's going to see the humor in this. You may have said an offhanded comment thinking it was funny to you, but if you're not consciously aware of how that might come off to other people, then that is something that you have to work on. And as friends, it's like it can be difficult to have those conversations. Those are tough conversations to have with somebody like, hey man, like I get it, like we're cool and all, but you are pushing a boundary that you shouldn't be doing.
Hmm.
And luckily for me, like what I've dealt with in the past, like I've had those conversations, and unfortunately, I've lost a player because, well, I say unfortunately because they like I said, they were a friend of mine, but it's one of those like, hey, you can't really the route that you're going is one that I don't feel comfortable with, and like if you can't stop, then we're gonna have to like you can't play with us anymore,
Yeah.
and it can get uncomfortable, and and sometimes you have to have those uncomfortable conversations. And in this day and age where like our time is very valuable as adults, it's would I rather have would I rather spend a couple hours out of my week having fun with friends, or would I go down the route of like I'm enduring this type of behavior? Those people are going to lean towards the first, are going to go with the first one. We want to have fun, but it has to be fun that we can all enjoy, not just for that one particular player. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have to kick the person, you have to ask the person to leave.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And if they can't understand it, well, then sucks to suck, man.
It
Sucks to suck.
does. It does. And just to kind of add on to that, these games that we play, that they are based on a social contract,
Yeah.
and that social contract is to make sure everybody enjoys themselves. Whether it's as the GM, whether it's as a player, they have to enjoy themselves. However, if you are the GM of the table, you are the person who has the responsibility of mediating that social contract. Not to say you've got to get him, you're not to say that people can't stick up for themselves, but at the same time, if push comes to shove and you need to make a decision, as hard as that decision has to be, the social contract has to be upheld.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, but that's a really good question. I do like it when people pose shit like this because it makes me think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know like some people are like, well, do you have instances of like it's like, yeah, but it's let's step away from that and take and highlight the main solution to this, which is
Hmm.
respect
And
people's boundaries, respect the safety tools, and if you can't, then well, there are consequences to it. As the GM, you are, like you said, you are the mediator for the social contract, and you have to make sure that that is upheld.
yeah, and if you want to see Justin and Justin's use of safety tools, you can check out our episode of the Crit List in which Justin came along and ran us through a Call of Cthulhu one shot. Justin has been nominated for an award for that performance, and I couldn't be any more proud than to have that as being the reason why, because you did such a fucking phenomenal job. And I want to talk about that for the rest of the show because because I don't get to talk about it to too many people or people who weren't there. I mean, Misfit and I every now and again will start going down a rabbit hole of, remember Brittany and remember Toby and remember Vicente. And you know, it's good to kind of chat about it because it was such a clutch fucking game.
It was. It really was.
And in terms of having a lot of work to do because of the chaotic nature of the players, you were up against it, man, and you excelled.
I honestly like you guys made the performance, the what is it, made that story what it was. And shout out to Keon in the chat right now because I recorded a Call of Cthulhu series earlier this what is it, a Call of Cthulhu mini series earlier this year. I'm still working on editing, but editing and then live stuff just it's taking a while. So get
Hmm.
there when I get there, buddies. I'm sorry, but back to this whole bit of like you guys as the performers are and the players are the ones that really sell everything. I say things and throw situations at you guys, and you guys do an amazing job at reacting the way that you guys do and coming together and working out solutions for everything that I threw at you guys. So, really, it's like it's like getting an award as like the coach of the team. Like, cool, I got it, but I couldn't have done it without everybody else. So honestly, like you guys deserve just as much, if not more, props for that performance than I ever could.
It was something special. It was because it was yourself as the I think it's storyteller. Is it storyteller or handler in Call of Cthulhu? Keeper?
It's store. It's what is it? It's the keeper. Yeah, keeper of
Keeper.
secrets.
You were the keeper. It was myself. We had Lone Wolf, Twisted Fates, if you want to find them
Yep.
on threads, Misfit Playland, and Juicy Garland. And what a fucking lineup that was. So what I mean, because obviously you were the one kind of we were talking to about our characters. We didn't know our characters until we actually kind of I think it was session 0 that we started kind of learning our characters and building them together. So I want to get your take on what you thought of the characters.
I mean, when we talked about the idea of the session and saying like, hey, where exactly we were going to be fitting, like timeline wise, where
Hmm.
were we? And the conversations that stemmed from it was great watching you all kind of come up with that. Come up with where your characters would be coming from with that, and kind of getting like a frame of reference for like the personalities that you guys had for them for like what is it, Misfits, what is it, Brittany, and just
Brittany.
like the blonde. It was perfect, it was beautiful, especially given like like the early to mid 2000s time frame of that. It was chef's kiss, and it was hilarious watching as they played that character. And on top of that, it felt like throughout the sessions, um there was a lot of there was character growth for each one of you
Hmm.
guys to what is it, throughout that bit. So it was a good time. It was a fun time. Like I yeah.
It was amazing, and because we had Misfit was Brittany. Brittany what and yeah, her character was amazing because she came off as this sort of stereotypical valley girl. I think she there was the term she used.
Yeah.
But being a Brit, I don't quite get the reference, but I've seen enough American movies to kind of follow along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what she played. But then there was one moment in the episode where there was a really obscure knowledge roll that had to be done. And it turned out she had the highest in the party. Her character was insanely intelligent, but because of her being an actress and being in Hollywood and the pressures that came with that, she kind of kept that side of herself hidden,
Yeah.
which I thought was so fucking good. Uh,
Absolutely. And just like what is it? The look on everybody's faces when like information and lore drops had happened. It's just like, wait, what did you say? It's like, yeah, no, that's they said that, and that's that. Like it showed it showed Misfits performance ability to be able to play such a layered
mm.
character, to be able to come off one way and then do something that you wouldn't expect to happen, and it feels so authentic. It was loved it.
And Twisted Fates Vicente. I Well, okay, just to let you know, as much as I nominated you for GM, I nominated him for PC for the Crit
Mhm.
Awards because he was so fucking good. I think the sandwich was a touch of genius.
It
Where
was
he
amazing watching him and Juicy just kind of play back and forth with one another, and then the slapping, what is it, when Juicy character slapped Vicente, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, "Mommy, what happened?" I was just like I was dying.
that came out of nowhere, and I think that whole scene where he's unconscious, and I think it started where Juice's character was dragging him, and you can just
Yep.
see him on the actual thing going like that,
Yep.
going backwards. And I thought, fuck me, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then the slap happened, and it just sealed it. Oh, Jesus Christ. And the whole Vicente thing between his character and Juicy's character, who was Dr. Barbara West, I think.
Something along those
I may be
lines.
misremembering, but that whole back and forth between them that like persisted throughout the session. Oh, Jesus Christ. It was a fantastic, fantastic time. And
It
again,
was.
you showed just how good you are, in my opinion.
I think also too, like with the final, it's spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but the end where, hold on, give it a little bit, like 5, 4, 3. If you haven't turned away or paused it, or we'll come back, this is your timestamp to do it before I give spoilers. And when the ending of uh, the how you guys resolved it, and the fact that your character um understood what was happening and figured they would take this chance, like this was, if it had to be either allow this thing to continue to this entity to continue to jump around throughout the house, or potentially no, actually no, it wasn't that, it was your character was being consumed by the
Mm.
thing, and so it was it was up to Juicy to figure out, like, do they try and save you,
Oh,
or what happened? And like the fact that your character was like, "Don't save me, get out of
yeah.
here and do something to stop this." That was gold to me.
It,
And the heartbreak that I felt as like Juicy doing the bit, and then hearing your final thoughts like right before your character pass was just as a GM, like I love hearing that stuff because it tugs at my heartstrings. It's like, oh, I can't believe I have to ask this question, but I need to, because we, as the audience, should know what is going through your mind at that point, because this is
mm,
a horror game.
yeah.
That's what Call of Cthulhu is. So to hear what that is, I think it's important to, as the audience, to kind of get a grasp of those things, because in normal horror films, you don't do it. You see, as they do the thing, the character passes away, and then you move on to the next bit. But those are real, our TTRPGs, like we're playing actual people. So I
Yeah.
think it's important to also capture that emotional bit of like, hey, this person's dying or dead. Here was their final thoughts.
Yeah, it was I appreciated you doing that because I had this idea for my character Toby, who I played as a naive person. He was a very
Mhm.
naive sort of person, and I based him off of Tobias Funke from Arrested Development,
Okay.
where he was a psychotherapist and he wanted to be an actor, so that was his whole thing. What I didn't tell until that moment was his backstory was a lot darker than you would have expected,
Mhm.
because to kind of pursue this dream of becoming an actor, he flat out left his wife and kid back home in England.
Yeah.
He walked out on them to pursue this dream. So as much as he was quite a lovable character, there was something inherently narcissistic about him.
Yeah.
Either narcissistic or oblivious, whichever way you kind of want to frame that, that's what he was. And giving me that option at the end where he had his final thoughts, that was where I was able to kind of reveal something that hadn't come out in play.
Oh, absolutely. And then that also speaks on to something else too, which is we play in TTRPGs, we play incredibly complex characters. Now, whether or not those fully come out to be shown in an AP or not, it's up to the length of the show and to the GM and whatnot. So, being able to, in this case, capture that last memory, that's your final thoughts, and then hearing everything as you had described it, um, it kind of also gives the audience like, well, can we know more about this? Do you
Mm,
know if they're wanting to know more and they have a means of being able to ask it? Well, then you're going to hear about it, and you're going to hear about it. And you can they obviously can reach out to you and just like, hey, I heard this. Is there more? And then you can kind of also like see like, do we want to make like a preamp, like what is it, like what is this person's life like
yeah.
beforehand, what were any of these people's lives like
Mm,
beforehand that we may not have gotten to, and it also like the characters there only knew each other for that small bit of time, and there's probably a whole lot of things that everybody had that not everybody got to see. There
yeah.
was a point to that I was going with, I did, but I lost it along the way.
I think you made it quite. I think you did make a very valid point, because in an AP which is designed to kind of be presented to an audience as opposed to just the people at the table, it is important to, if you want to show your creation as it were to this audience, it is important to get that out. And I think a lot of what happened, especially within the interactions, because there was friction between Brittany and Toby, and there was friction between Barbara and Vicente. And I think during those moments of friction, that we definitely saw um, facets of the character that wouldn't have normally come out in play. And I think, you know, it's a testament to your ability as a GM to kind of give us space to allow that to happen, but also to the talent that was at that table.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, and I'm not including myself in that because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I was the newbie to the whole AP thing. But, you know, just exceptional performances from Juicy, Misfit, and Twisted Fates. It was, you know, one of my favorite things that we've done on this channel was that. And I think everyone should go check it out and check out why Justin has been nominated for this award and see just how deserved it is.
Yeah, I greatly, like I said, I definitely appreciate it because, I one of the things I do like to highlight too is just like some of the little things that I picked up along the way because, you know, we're all learning from each other
Mm,
from from other professional GMs that are out there within the space, and for the audience who may be interested in like picking up the GM spot. It's like highlighting the things that we do. And for me, it's like I'm always looking to see and ask the question of what is your character thinking?
Hmm.
What are they feeling at the moment there? Because you can throw out there, hey, this is the scene, this is what it looks like, this is who's there, what do you do? And then you just do the reaction bit, but to actually take a little bit of time to be like, hey, Juan, after hearing all this, what are your thoughts? How does your character feel in this moment? And then giving you that space to be able to really, as a player and as a performer, kind of like explore what that is and vocalize that to the rest of the audience, so that way they get to have that understanding that of what your character is going through, what they're feeling at the moment, that might not otherwise be seen, because they
Hmm.
may only be seeing what we're doing at the moment. Then obviously they don't know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Getting to be able to step into your mindset, I think more GMs should, if they aren't doing that already, definitely should put that into their toolkit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is something that I definitely picked up from you doing it. It was, and it also gives you insight into why a character reacts the way they do. If you know how their mind works and then you see them do something, it kind of fleshes that out beyond the, oh, this has happened and this is my reaction to it. Whereas having the sort of insight behind that, kind of going, okay, so this is where their mind's at right now. I think it is a phenomenally powerful storytelling tool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But that is regrettably about all we've got time for this evening.
Okay.
So Justin, thank you ever so much for joining me here today. It's been great catching up with you, man.
Likewise to you. And again, sorry for the internet problems earlier today. And well, yeah, you know where you can reach me, so you can, if you want to continue on the conversation, we definitely can, either on the socials or back here again, or some medium way, shape, or form. It was just like a little hangout, man.
Speaking of,
I got
I was going to say,
yes.
speaking of socials, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, everybody, I am GM Justin. You can find me on all my socials at Forever GM Justin. You can also find me over at Roll D5. That's ROLE_D5, where we specialize in playing indie TTRPGs. I have a lot of things going on. So if there's a social media network out there, you can probably find me at the number four Ever GM Justin. Come follow me, keep up with what I'm doing. And yeah.
As for me, you can find me pretty much on most of the socials, barring one in particular, which I don't like to mention. I'm
Yep.
either too legit to crit or I'm at Natural Juan. I'm mostly active personally on Blue Sky, but Threads is definitely a close second. If you like what we do and you want to hear more, like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us in a more financial way, we've got a Ko-fi account, we've got a merch store that feel free to peruse. And also check out all of our shit on toolegit2crit.com. You can find the show there, you can find our blog, you can also find our links to our socials. But most importantly of all, I want to thank everyone who has taken time out of their day listening to two people randomly waffling on about tabletop role playing games. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.